Right, something a bit different today. Doing some preparation for an MOT on my girlfriend's Citroen C3. One of the things we noticed is, unfortunately, this suspension spring has snapped. Because they're quite accessible, I thought might as well just change it myself, and it looks like it's quite straightforward. And hopefully I'm going to do it in an easier way than some of the other YouTube videos. So usually you would disconnect the bottom of the shock absorber, obviously once the car's jacked up, to give you enough space to lever this rear beam down and remove the spring. But I thought that bolt looked quite crusty, and I don't want to mess around with it, so I'm going to try doing it with a set of spring compressors, which will either work really well or be an unmitigated disaster. So let's see. So there we go, we've got the car up on axle stands or jack stands. That just allows the wheel to obviously hang down at the end of the suspension travel, which means you've got more space to take the spring out. So my theory is, once you compress the spring with a couple of spring compressors, it should be pretty straightforward just to take it out and then put the new ones in. So let's find out. Okay, so we've got the spring compressors on, got one on this side and one on this side, so hopefully bit by bit just wind these off. And just let them down like that. You're not under too much tension, so they're not going to go firing across the ground or anything. So yeah, you just release them off afterwards. If we look at the springs, you see this one's actually got a little bit of wear. This is probably where the other one started to snap. You can see on this one, it's worn all the way through and then just shed off at the bottom, which is why I'm going to change them both. Of course, it's always useful to compare the new springs to the old springs. So this is the old spring that's just come off. These are the new ones. So you can see they've got the same number of coils, same number of turns in them, and they are the same shape and they're the same length. So fortunately, it looks like we've got the right parts. Now just to squeeze these down a bit and then jingle them back into the car. Jangle them back into the car. Put them back into the car. And you don't have to completely compress the springs, just only have to compress them enough that you can get them back into position, and then you can release the tension and just make sure they seat properly. See if we can potentially film some of that. So yeah, once it's in place and it's seated properly, just release the spring compressors. And your spring is neatly seated in there, ready to be lowered back down again. Let's check everything's seated correctly, which it looks like it is. And I think it's just a case now we'll just have to lower the car back to the ground and then make sure everything looks right. There we go, car's back on the ground. Springs are nicely seated and in position. Got one on that side, one on this side. And we didn't have to undo any bolts, didn't even have to take the wheels off. Didn't have to undo the shock absorber, just probably about, what, 15 minutes, a couple of cheap spring compressors, and the job's done. So yeah, not saying it's the right way to do it, but it's definitely a way to do it. So I hope that helps someone.